Hey, what's up guys? Welcome back. Today we are talking guitar necks. We're talking great guitar build-off. I'm going to show you guys what I did to mine, and we're going to talk about some other stuff too. For starters, did you guys see what Wonder Bread Guitars built? For anybody who's been living under a rock, that's my nickname for Texas Toast Guitars, who just finally released, well, not their final video, but they showed us what they made. And it really does fit with the theme. Today we are talking about guitar necks. Like I said, we're talking about my great guitar build-off build and what I did for the neck on my guitar. And we'll get into that. But first of all, this thing is crazy that Wonder Bread Guitars made. It's got 3 necks. It's like three pieces of Wonder Bread. We're talking a club sandwich guitar here. Have you ever seen a triple neck guitar? I hadn't before this. I think I'd seen like a quad neck in cartoons. I'm sure Michelangelo Badio is going to have to come in and play this thing for them. It's unreal. They've got a stand for it. So first I say that Crimson Guitars is going to make a trellis fence guitar, and they do. And then I tell the guys from Texas Toast Guitars, just because you can doesn't mean you should. And they go, get serious. Anyway, we'll move on to my build. I'm just saying, I assume Matt and other guy there watched the Malmsteen interview where he said, you know, people tell me less is more. How can that be? How can less be more? More is more. And they took that to heart. Okay, moving on. A couple different things about the neck joint on mine. So if you watched my video a little while ago where I set up the neck joint, I'm doing a bolt on. I'm using 3 bolts, and I put in my threaded inserts into the neck so that I could use actual bolts. I've got them sunk a little bit in there so that I could do some relief work on the back. We haven't covered all of that yet. We will. That's all going to come out in the final video. Okay, we're back. Sorry, had some technical difficulties there. Not sure what the issue was, but here we are. I'm also not sure where I left off, so I'm going to take my best guess and continue. There were some concerns expressed with the neck joint for a few reasons on my build, so I'm going to address those now. I'm going to tell you what I did to fix some of them notionally. I mean, to be clear, I thought the same thing that many of you did and many of you commented, that the neck joint was perfectly stable, very solid, and there weren't going to be any issues. However, I want to make the point that this isn't about proving me right, somebody else wrong. This isn't like, that's not why we're here. This whole thing, this whole contest is about supporting charity. It's builds for charity. And mine in particular is for a charity that's important to me. It's the Stollery Children's Hospital here in Edmonton. So that's why I did these fixes, among other things. That's why I think it's important to communicate this, because if someone saw something that they perceived as a flaw, and that was going to prevent them from picking up raffle tickets for this guitar. And yes, they're raffle tickets now. We'll talk about that in the next episode. But anyway, if that was going to prevent someone from, buying tickets to try and win this guitar, and I can alleviate that problem so that now they realize that everything is going to be good, that the guitar is strong and stable and ready to go, and now they're going to buy raffle tickets because they like the guitar, then it's all worthwhile. I don't care really what I need to fix. I will do it because that's what the whole thing is for. So I should probably also note that a few people said that my build is the ugliest thing they'd ever seen. So obviously, no matter what I do to the neck, they're not going to buy raffle tickets. All right, let's move on. Let's talk about what some of these concerns were and what I've done for them. So let's start with the easy one. A few people expressed concerns that there were only 3 bolts holding this thing on as opposed to 4 screws. That, I'm telling you, isn't an issue, and I haven't done anything to change that. I'm using 3 1/4-inch 20 thread bolts. I've hung 200-pound signs from 3 or 4 of this type of bolt before, and they've lasted 4 years. It's much stronger than 4 wood screws, to put it simply, and it's going into a threaded insert as opposed to the wood, so you don't have that same risk in terms of tearing out some of the wood and eventually stripping it and having it rip off. That's not going to be a problem with these. They're a stronger option. Even the 4 wood screws, I've seen guitars with 3 wood screws before that work just fine. They're strong enough. And with that in mind, there are designs with 2 bolts instead of 3. There are designs with smaller bolts. There are even designs for guitars with 1 bolt that work. So I haven't done anything to change this. The 3 bolts are going to work. Don't worry. One of the other things that's been mentioned, the back of the guitar, and the guitar's in the shop right now, it's not here, but just for reference. The heel piece here, there were a few people who expressed concerns about that and said I should use a thick gauge like steel plate, back plate. That's really not necessary. So the bolt-on designs don't use back plates generally, and the back plate really, I mean, for one, it's mostly for show and to know where your stuff's going. But all it really accomplishes from a physics perspective is distributing that force a little bit. That's not going to be necessary at all. I'm using bolts. They're not going to pull through the thing. They're not going to like crack the heel. So I don't really have any concerns there. However, I have actually done something on this point, and I haven't revealed the color of the guitar yet, but these won't reveal it. So what I'm going to use are ferrules, what you would expect. Yeah, ferrules. I found some nice ones. They're kind of a burnt steel look, multicolor. Let me show you this. There we go. Got it to focus. So yeah, they're a multicolor item, and they're going to go into those holes in the back and distribute the force a little bit better and allow me to use countersunk bolts. So nice fit, all is well. That's going to deal with that. There's really no need for a back plate, but these will distribute the force a little bit more and give me some metal with a flat back to contact on there, so there should be no concern whatsoever. There was also some suggestion, and I'm using this body just because, that the surface contact area for the neck pocket just simply wasn't sufficient. There was really no explanation. It was, I think one guy said that, and there was really no explanation as to what he thought the issue with that was per se. But frankly, it is. You don't need that much surface contact area for it to be solid. And that's really the concern, is making sure that the neck joint is solid, that it counteracts the string tension so that, the energy transfers through there properly and the pickups pick up the string vibration. It's going to be fine for that. There were also some suggestions, and these were good, to put, and Dan from Guns and Guitars does this, and there are a couple other designs that do it, that put screws in at an angle here, kind of like pocket joint style, to suck the neck in. And that's not a bad idea. It's actually a great idea. I just don't do it, and I don't think it's necessary, because all of the string tension is pulling the neck into that pocket. The string tension pulls in that direction. It's got a little up force on it, but mostly it just sucks the neck in. So as long as the neck is pressed into the pocket correctly, I'm not saying that those screws don't make sense. I'm just saying I don't think they're necessary. So I don't like the idea of having 2 additional holes in the back of my guitar for that. So I'm not doing it, but it's certainly a good option, and I'm not trying to discourage other people from doing it. It works. I just don't think it's needed because of the string tension. Okay, let's move on to the big one, so to speak. So this is a quarter sawn neck, which means I was drilling into edge grain when I put in my threaded inserts. And I made a couple mistakes there. I should have clamped the neck this way. I should have drilled the hole bigger, and I didn't, because I wanted the threaded insert to go in and make sure it was nice and tight and there was no risk of it coming out. Error. Should have done it bigger. There are ways to counteract that. There are also suggestions that you should tap the holes before you put them in. Again, I didn't want to create a path for them to come out, but there are ways to counteract that. So that probably would have also been a good idea. I have done a bunch of these in the past on not quarter sawn stuff, and it's never been a problem. I should have adapted my technique for that. So what happened was I drilled my 3 holes and I got 1 hairline fracture. And then I filled that hairline fracture with really thin super glue. And the really thin super glue has a kind of a capillary action, we call it, where it fills in the entire crack because it flows into it. And then I super glued around them and everything. They're in there solid. They're glued in place. They're certainly not coming out yet. I did have at least one person, I think, say, oh, those are definitely going to work their way out of the neck. And then a couple others who were just adamant that it was a problem one way or the other. So I've fixed the problem. Let's put it that way. And let's talk about how I did that. So what I did, obviously I had that all filled. I then created a cap out of walnut. And this is flat sawn, so it's got a different grain direction than the neck, which is not a problem at all. In fact, it probably adds strength. So yeah, I'm sure you guys already know this, but when you glue this on, I used tape on 3 and clamp it in properly, which I did. I used both this little plate piece and some short screws to clamp it on, as well as a clamp and a radius block on the frets to avoid bending them or anything like that. Double check them, they're looking good. When you do that, the joint there ends up basically stronger than the wood, and there's some good surface area there to keep everything in place. So now with that there attached to all of this wood and the fretboard on the other side attached to it, there's absolutely no risk anymore of that cracking apart or anything like that. So even if you didn't trust the super glue, the repair job I did initially to get rid of that hairline fracture, we're solid now. There should be no concern. I'm really excited to get this installed on the guitar actually, but I have to do a full finish on the neck, of course. I'm sure there will be no surprises about what it is, but I'm not going to tell you yet. You'll see it in the final video, and then we'll get this guy installed. I've tested it. It's looking good. It's going to work well with the ferrules. Yeah, as always, I'm pleased. Let me know what you guys think of this, what you think of the look of the plate. If you have any concerns or questions, let me know. Drop them in the comment section below. Let's talk about them. Let's make sure that everybody understands what's going on here, because I don't want anybody to think that this is an issue if they were otherwise going to pick up a raffle ticket for the guitar. I certainly don't want this to prevent that. Again, trying to support a charity here. All right, guys, thank you for watching. Go check out Texas Toast Guitar from Sunday. They released it at the end of their live stream. It's worth a look. It's insanity. Mine's only going to have one neck. Sorry to disappoint. Thanks again. Hope you enjoyed it. Remember, just because you can doesn't mean you should. But what you should do is give the video a thumbs up and subscribe so that you can see how this build turns out. As always, thanks guys. Hope you liked it, and I will see you next time. Have a good one.